Alright, hello. So today we're going to be creating a website using HTML. HTML is the main language that coders use when developing a website. It's like the noun. It basically tells the user and puts on the website what the information is, if there's going to be any pictures, user input, paragraphs, all of that type of stuff. Along with HTML, there's CSS, which has to do with the aesthetics of the website, and there's also JavaScript, which kind of stores the information, data, stuff like that. So, the first thing that we have to do is we're going to start by having students go to codepen.io, and then you're going to have them click Create a Pen. You can have them sign up and log in if you want to, but you don't have to do that. The benefits are that if they sign up and log in, then they will be able to save their work, have it for the next day. But if they're not able to create one, you can just have them take a picture of it with their phones and recreate it. When you get to codepen.io, you're going to see three main boxes. The first one's going to say HTML, second one CSS, and third one JavaScript. Make sure you tell them that today we're just going to be using that HTML box. When you first start, have them go at the beginning of their document and type in the first 3 lines of code. So we have the brackets, the greater than or less than signs. We're going to call them brackets for today. And then we're going to have them put an exclamation point and then in all capitals, doc type HTML. Basically, this is where we tell them that syntax isn't very important. And when they said doc type is in all capitals, they should keep it like that. Because again, while HTML is a language that automatically just tries to push out whatever you have, it's always good to be kind of correct in our code and in our syntax. Then you're going to have them put the brackets and then HTML, and then the brackets and then body. So basically, all types of code basically tell the computer a set of instructions. When we put the brackets and then doc type HTML, you're basically telling the file and the computer that this is the document and that the computer is going to be reading HTML. Then we have that HTML line. Then that's where you're telling the computer that we're starting our HTML code right here. Then you're going to have the body code where we're saying to the computer that that is the main code that will be shown to the user that's going to be displayed. There's also another head command that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So right now we're going to talk about headers. So the first thing you have to talk about is that there's always a open command and a close command. If you can see this right here, you have those brackets, H1, closing brackets, you have your header, then you have another set of brackets, a backslash, and then H1, then that closed bracket. So within HTML, there will always be a closing set of brackets, a closing set of commands. We never leave them open. You really have to close it. Again, reiterate that to the students because they're bound to forget. So what is a header? A header basically makes your text appear bigger than a lot of the other fonts that you will use. So for example, if you have a web page and you want to display the main idea, the main overall concept that the web page is going to be about, you would like to use a header. And that makes it stand out from the rest of the text that is going to be on the website. So all you have to do is, again, this command, brackets H1, closing bracket, then you'll just type your header there. There's no need for quotation marks or brackets. I know that in Python and Java they have that. But for today, we're just going to be using just typing it in between the brackets. Then again, we're going to close backslash and then header 1. Something to recognize is that there's not just one header. There are actually a couple of different ones. I've gone to H5. All you have to do is just go brackets H2, close bracket, backslash H2. Brackets H3, close brackets, backslash H3. Basically, one header will just make your text appear bigger than it actually is, than all the other text. So then if you have a second header or a third header, then the text will gradually get smaller. It'll still stand out when you just do your regular paragraph command, which we'll talk about later. But again, it'll still be bigger and it will still be set apart from the regular text that you will have on your web page. Okay, so here's where we talk about different types of fonts that we can add using HTML. So CSS, yes, it will change your color. It can change the size of your font. It can change the style of your font, but in HTML, we can actually do some of that ourselves. So the first thing, like I was talking about in the previous slide, is the paragraph command. Basically, that's what I call it. It's the brackets with a P in between, and then again, we're going to close that command with the brackets, the backslash, and that P. Basically, what we want to do here is we're telling the computer that we're going to start creating a paragraph here. We're going to have a wall of text. This will be in regular font. It won't be a header, it won't be bold. Again, that you would have to add more commands for that to happen. Our second command over here is the brackets EM, then you have your font, or you have your text, and then you'll have the brackets, the backslash, and then that EM. Something to note with these commands that you'll see in bullets 2 and 3 is that there are multiple ways to have italicized and bold font. To have italicized font, you can either have those brackets with your EM, or you can have your brackets with your I. Also for bullet 3, you can see that for bold font, you can have those brackets and strong, or you can have those brackets and a B. When teaching the students, you can give them the option to know both of them, but you're going to find, at least that's what I found, that the I and the B were the most common ones, because the kids are able to recognize that I for italicized, B for bold. Going to the fourth bullet, you'll see that there is a bracket and a Q. This is just basically telling the computer that you want the text that you're going to put inside those two brackets to be in quotes. Very cool for just quoting things, stuff like that. Another question that students have is, can I nest my commands? And the answer to that is yes. So what I always do is when I want to do that, I start with the brackets and a P. We're just starting off with having a paragraph. From there, I'll add on my commands. So if I want that paragraph of text to be bold, I'll put next to the command with the P, I'll put the command with the B, so the brackets and the B. And then I'll write my text, and then I will close each of those commands respectively. Again, you can layer as many commands as you want, but remember, open your command and then close your command. And again, reiterate to the students that the only difference between each of these is that the start does not have a backslash, but the end one does. And that within each of these commands, the one thing that stays the same is having those brackets and the end one having that backslash. This will just really ingrain in the kids' minds that you have to close your commands and have that backslash. So here's an example for today's class. We would just like to highlight this doc type HTML command, and then HTML and head. Again, these three you should see on the students' code at all times. Very important. Again, we close this head command over here, and then we have our body command. This is just saying this is where we're going to start printing our text. And then we have, again, header 1, and then your paragraph. Note to the students that this is the differentiation between the header and the paragraph. The header one is obviously bigger, it's obviously bolder, and stands out more than that paragraph text. And just because this body command and HTML command doesn't physically change anything within the aesthetics or the visual aspect of the code and of the print line, it still needs to get closed because it is a command that we're giving to the computer. Okay, so adding a picture. What you want to do when you add a picture is first you have to Google one on the internet, and it has to be a public image. So you can do that by selecting the filter on Google, and then from there you're going to click public image, and then you're going to find the URL for that picture. When you find the URL for the picture, make sure that the URL is corresponding to the picture. Sometimes the children will say that the URL doesn't work. It's because they didn't actually get the URL for the picture. They got it for the actual website or something different. So reiterate that the URL has to be for the picture. From there, you want to copy that URL, copy the whole entire thing, and then you're going to type in your code brackets image source src equals, and then your opening quotation mark, paste that URL, close quotation mark, and close bracket. Again, that will just have a picture be embedded in that website. If you want to create a video, have a video embedded in that website, all you have to do is get your YouTube video, find it, and then you have that opening bracket. You're going to have a lowercase I and then frame, and then you're going to do space. You can either change your width or whatever, but for today we're not going to do that. And then you would have source, and then you would paste that URL. Again, the only thing that changed is that instead of IMG, it would be IFRAME. And then for that one, you would just again close that command with that opening bracket, \iframe, and then that closing bracket. Something that we didn't mention in the other slide here, if we're just going to go back for a second, is that spacing of your code does not affect the actual end product. So let's say, as you can see this person here, they just had it in a straight line. Each command had its own line. But there are some people who like to, let's say for your bracket with the HTML, they want to indent that. Or with your title, they'll have the first title, then they'll put the page title in the next line, closing command in the next line. That doesn't change the output of the code. It makes it more aesthetic. And as advanced coders do, they like to kind of space out their code because when other people look at it, it's easier to read. And from there, the user can understand it and basically just get a better idea of what it is, since it's all spread out instead of looking at it in one clumped little block of code. So that's picture and video. Okay, so at the end, again, I kind of talked about this in the previous slides, but you want to add your closing commands to body and HTML. And basically what this does, it just tells the computer, this is the end of your code. Again, super important, opening and closing each command. So from there, they've basically created a basic website. Now you want to have them build their own website. So part of this is having them use each of the skills that we talked about in the previous slides. What I like to do is have the students kind of dig deep within themselves, find something that they really love, find a passion within them. Have them research that a bit, and then have them make a website on it. So you can talk about your favorite animal, favorite sports team. They can talk about themselves, and they can just build that website. Again, have them just use the commands that we talked about in the previous slides. Here are some older slides that we have. This is just kind of saving the file on the computer. This isn't using the software that we're using. So the workshop, this is what we kind of just want the students to do. Introduce them to HTML, CSS, what they are, why they're used. Go through the slides like we just did. And again, go slow. At the end of each slide, ask if anyone has questions. You'll find that a lot of students are very intuitive. They really love what you're teaching, but they want to learn more. And so to give them that opportunity, have them ask some questions. Again, talk to the kids about the project in advance. Say, oh, you're going to be creating this, so they can kind of think about it while you're teaching. And that is it for the lesson. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.